Alright, so these are my week 3 NFL power rankings. Let's get started. Starting with some of our top performances, I'm not going to say anything here. You guys can look at them if you want to. There's a lot of good performances to go over this week, so again, you guys can look at that, but I'm not going to waste your time if you don't care to see those. Moving on to some of our injuries. I took out any guys that were on the IR, like preseason stuff. So these are just kind of all new injuries that we have, which there are a lot. I will not mention everything. I do want to mention Austin Ekeler's out for the year. Joe Burrow's out for 3 months. Elijah Canty's out for the year. JJ McCarthy's out for 2 to 4 weeks. A lot of different quarterback injuries to go over here. You guys can look at all of these yourself. I don't want to go over everything because that'll take a while, but moving on there. We have some suspensions, just updating those games there. But again, moving on from here, we'll get into our actual power rankings with the New Orleans Saints at 32. They are 0-2. They are still the worst team in the league, in my opinion. They played a lot better this week, only lost 26-21 versus the Niners. But the Niners were playing Mac Jones. So they played better, but they still lost to Mac Jones. So you got to keep them at 32. 31 to Cleveland Browns. They dropped 3 spots. They didn't play bad in week 1, but week 2 was not a good game. 0-2 overall on the record. They lost to the Ravens this week, 41-17. So not a very good game for the Cleveland Browns. They fall down to number 31. Number 30 is the Tennessee Titans. They dropped 1 spot. They played decent in this game. It wasn't like a horrible game. They were winning, I believe, 13-10 at one point, but they ended up losing 33-19 versus the Rams. Defensively is not good. Cam Ward played better. So I do like some things from this Titans team, but they're still not a good team overall. 29 is Carolina Panthers. They do move ahead of the Tennessee Titans. I thought they played solid. They did lose to the Arizona Cardinals 27-22, but Bryce Young played pretty solid. 328 yards, 3 touchdowns with only 1 interception. He did throw 55 passes, which is kind of crazy, but at least they're confident in using him as much as they are. That's a good thing. Carolina Panthers, I thought they played better than week 1, but still they're not very good. 28 is the Las Vegas Raiders. They're going to drop 3 spots. They lost this week versus the Chargers 20-9 in a game where Geno Smith threw 3 interceptions. He threw over 350 yards in week 1, only had 180 in week 2, and 3 picks, right? Not good overall from the offense for the Raiders. Defensively, solid, but offense, got some work to do. 27 is the New York Giants. They're going to move up 4 spots, even though they did lose this week. But they played really, really good game against the Dallas Cowboys. They lost 40-37 in overtime. And if the Cowboys did not have Brandon Aubrey, which is perhaps the greatest kicker, at least the greatest long-range kicker of all time, the Giants probably win this game. Russell Wilson had 450 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 interception. A lot of good things going for the New York Giants team this week. Offensively, defensively, obviously when you let up 40 points, it's not really a good week. 26, the Chicago Bears. They're going to drop 3 spots. They got kind of blown out this week against the Detroit Lions, 52-21. Putting up 21 points is good, but again, letting up 52 is atrocious. They had 2 turnovers and 0 takeaways in this game. I thought Caleb Williams looked fine. Rome Odunze looked amazing, but their defense was struggling in this game. 25 is Miami Dolphins. They're going to jump up 2 spots, even though they did lose to the New England Patriots this week, but they definitely played a lot better. They only lost 33-27, so definitely better than their week 1 performance. Tua was a lot better. 315 yards, 2 touchdowns to only 1 interception, so a lot of improvements from the Miami Dolphins team, but they still ultimately got a loss, so I can't really move them up all that much. 24 is the New York Jets. They're going to drop 2 spots. Week 1 wasn't horrible, but week 2 was, right? They played the Buffalo Bills, so it's a very tough opponent. They ended up losing 30-10. Justin Fields went out of the game with a concussion. Tyrod Taylor came in and actually outperformed what Justin Fields did in a very limited sample size. We do get Tyrod Taylor going forward, at least for week 3, as Justin Fields is out with a concussion. So we'll see how they fare with that, but I don't see it going too good for New York. 23 is Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to move up 1 spot. They had a good game here against the Bengals. They did lose 31-27. They definitely should have won this game. Once Joe Burrow went down, their defense was really good. They had 3 takeaways in this game, all off of Jake Browning, right? So when you get 3 interceptions off of their backup quarterback, you should win this game. but they still found a way to lose at the end of the game. I will move them up one spot because they did look fairly impressive offensively, but again, defensively, letting Jake Browning come back and beat you after throwing 3 interceptions is not a good sign. 22, Minnesota Vikings, they're going to drop 2 spots. Not a good week for them here against the Atlanta Falcons. They lost 22-6. They had 4 turnovers offensively. That's not very good. JJ McCarthy is going to be injured for 2 to 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain. So Carson Wentz is going to get some action. I think he's going to actually do pretty solid. And they don't have the hardest schedule here over the next few weeks. And they have a bye week within that 2 to 4 week time frame as well. So JJ McCarthy likely only misses about 3 games. And I think Carson Wentz can do enough to keep this team around the 500 range. Number 21 is going to be the New England Patriots. They're going to move up 5 spots this week. I thought they played really good against Miami. 33-27 win. They did have 1 turnover, they had 1 takeaway, 0 turnover. So yeah, pretty good all around here for New England. Ramondre Stevenson was great, over 130 total yards. Really good week for him, and Drake May looked pretty solid as well. Number 20 is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. They moved down 3 spots, even though they won a game this week, but obviously losing Joe Burrow is not going to help them. They beat the Jaguars 31-27. I've already talked about that game. Jake Browning had 3 picks and somehow still came back and won. So they're doing good at 2-0. Jake Browning did not look very impressive, though, and they're going to be without Joe Burrow for about 3 months, and I don't foresee Jake Browning doing enough to keep this Bengals team in any sort of playoff conversation. Number 19 is the Pittsburgh Steelers, dropping 4 spots. They lost this week to the Seahawks. 31-17. It would have been closer, but the Seahawks had a kick return touchdown recovered in the end zone. The Steelers were on kick return, and it went over Caleb Johnson's head into the end zone, and then Seattle recovered it for a touchdown. So very big special teams blunder for Pittsburgh. Kind of made this game more out of reach than it should have been, because they were only down, I think, 7 points or something going into that. Number 18 is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. They move up 1 spot. A good win versus the Vikings, 22-6. They looked pretty impressive. Michael Penix looked good, I thought, in this game. He didn't look great, but he was good enough. Bijan was amazing as always. In the receiving game, decent production from Drake London as well. Number 17 is going to be the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to stay the exact same spot. They beat the New York Giants 40-37 in overtime, but the Giants are not a very good team, so I couldn't really justify moving the Cowboys up too much. And they also did lose offensive lineman Cooper Beebe to injury for about 6 to 8 weeks. That's definitely not going to help them out. Number 16 is the Houston Texans, dropping 2 spots. They went 0-2 so far in the season, but this was a lot better week than last week, but they still are going to be dropping 2 spots. They had a solid game versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, only lost 20-19, but they got outgained by about 100 yards. C.J. Stroud, barely over 50% completion percentage. That's not great. And they lost tight end Cade Stover to the IR as well. The Texans team, I think, definitely looked better than last week, but they're still not looking very good. Number 15 is the Denver Broncos. They should have won this week versus the Indianapolis Colts, but they ended up losing this game 29-28. They were up by 2 points. And the Colts had a last-second 60-yard field goal to win the game. They missed it, but the Broncos had a leveraging penalty called on them, so the Colts got a 45-yarder and then made it. So Broncos definitely should have won this game, but because they lost in that big blunder, I am going to drop them down a couple of spots. But 15 still isn't bad, and you'll see how I feel about them coming into this week's game. But overall in this game, Bo Nix was solid, had 3 touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins and Troy Franklin were really good in this game as well. But defensively, I mean, the Colts are looking like an actually good team this year, but they still let Daniel Jones and specifically Jonathan Taylor dice them up. 14 is going to be the Indianapolis Colts, jumping up 7 spots, go right above Denver, who they just beat 29-28, like I already mentioned here. But this was a pretty good game for the Colts. Jonathan Taylor was amazing, had over 200 total yards with a touchdown. Obviously, whenever a running back can account for 200 total yards, that's amazing, right? Incredible performance from him. Daniel Jones had over 300 yards and a touchdown as well. So a lot of good performances for the Colts this week. Number 13, Arizona Cardinals jump up 3 spots. They're now 2-0. They beat the Panthers 27-22. Panthers are not a very good team, so a 5-point win doesn't look that good, but they were up pretty significantly in the first half. Panthers made it more of a game in the second half, but I do think the Cardinals looked pretty good in this game. Kyler Murray over 200 yards and a touchdown. Trey McBride was good. And yeah, they did get outgained in this by 60 yards, but they still had 2 takeaways defensively, so they didn't look like super impressive, but I still think they're looking pretty solid to start the year off. Number 12, Seattle Seahawks are going to jump up 6 spots after a 31-17 W versus the Steelers. I already talked about the touchdown that they got off of their own kickoff, which was kind of a crazy play. But they outgained the Steelers team by 130 yards. Like, they looked pretty good. Sam Darnold did have 2 interceptions, but he did have 2 touchdowns and over 300 total yards. So kind of made up for it. Kenneth Walker looked really good as opposed to week 1 where he got outplayed significantly by Zach Charbonnet, but this week he definitely looked like the RB1. Number 11 is the 49ers. They're going to stay the same spot, which could be controversial because, of course, Brock Purdy is still out, and he is going to be out for multiple weeks, whereas last week we only thought he was going to be out for maybe 1 or 2, but now he's going to be out for longer than that. I do believe he was placed on the IR. That is definitely not ideal, but still, Mac Jones looked amazing in this game against the Saints, where they won 26-21. And because Mac Jones looked good and Christian McCaffrey looked really good in the running game and the receiving game, I'm not going to drop them yet because as long as Mac Jones is playing good, you know, they're still going to be a top 11 team. Number 10 is the Washington Commanders, dropping 2 spots. They lost 27-18 versus the Packers. Not a bad game versus the Packers, who I think are a very, very good team. One thing that is worth mentioning, Jaden Daniels is doubtful this week. They're going to have Marcus Mariota at quarterback if he is not able to play. Also, Austin Eckler is out for this season. Those are 2 very big injuries to this team. Hopefully, Jaden Daniels can play, but if it is up to Marcus Mariota, hopefully it's just for 1 week. Number 9 is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They stay at the same spot. They had a 1-point win versus the Houston Texans, who have not looked really good this year. So I'm not going to move them up any. But staying at number 9, I think, is really solid for them. And also, they're losing Kalijah Cansey to a season-ending injury. So that also is a part of the reason why I do not move them up, even though they had a pretty good game here against Houston. Number 8 is the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to drop 2 spots. They were number 6. They're going to drop down to number 8. They were 0-2 so far to start the year, but they have looked pretty solid on the defensive side of the ball, especially this game. They only let up 216 yards. They won the yardage game by about 80 yards, but they still ended up losing this game. Travis Kelce had a touchdown in the end zone, which he dropped, which led to an interception for Philly, so that played a big part. But also they should be getting Xavier Worthy back from injury this week, so that could definitely help them spark something on the offensive side of the ball. Number 7 is going to be the Detroit Lions. They're going to move up 3 spots after dominating the Chicago Bears 52-21. I don't really have a whole lot to say. They had over 500 yards of offense. Jared Goff was great. Jahmyr Gibbs was great. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 3 touchdowns. He was great. And Jameson Williams was great. Pretty much everybody offensively was great for the Lions. And defensively could have been a little bit better, I suppose. But, I mean, you're not worried about how bad their defense was by any means. They only let up 21 points. It's nothing crazy. And when you put up 52, you can allow for 21 points very easily. Number 6 is going to be the Los Angeles Rams. They're going to move up 1 spot to number 6 from number 7. They looked really good. They beat the Titans 33-19. Matthew Stafford looked good. They had 439 yards of offense. That is really good. But yeah, Stafford, Puka, Devontae Adams all looked really good in this game. So I have some really high hopes for this Los Angeles Rams team as of right now. Number 5 is going to be the LA Chargers. They're not going to move up this week. They beat the Raiders 20-9, but it's a good win. But there's just so many good teams at these top 5 that there's not going to be much, if any, movement, as you're going to see soon. But in this game, they had 3 takeaways. Outgained them by about 100 yards, and Justin Herbert played really good, 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. Number 4 is going to be the Baltimore Ravens, again not moving up, but they dominated the Browns 41-17. They actually had less yards than them, but they just played really good. They had a defensive touchdown in this game. I believe it was Roquan Smith, could be wrong on that. But Lamar Jackson had 4 touchdowns. D-Hop played great. Tess Johnson had a couple touchdowns. Rushing game wasn't doing a whole lot. Derrick Henry didn't do a whole lot, but they didn't really need him to. They still looked amazing. Number 3 is going to be the Green Bay Packers. They have looked dominant so far here. 27-18 versus the Commanders, where they won. Had over 400 yards of offense. Josh Jacobs, Jordan Love, all really good. One thing to mention, Jayden Reed is going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. That is certainly not ideal, but they still look very, very good right now. Number 2, Buffalo Bills are going to stay at 2. Dominated the Jets 30-10. Had over 400 yards of offense to only 154 led up by the Jets. So dominated the Jets in all facets of this game. Josh Allen didn't do a whole lot, but James Cook was amazing in this game. Number 1 is, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles. They beat the Chiefs 20-17. They're number 1 coming into this. I'm not going to drop them probably until they actually lose a game, but they've looked pretty good here. Jalen Hurts didn't do a whole lot, but Saquon was doing very good in this game, and Jalen Hurts did do a decent amount on the ground in this game. He didn't do much in passing, but he did much on the ground. He had a rushing touchdown with the tush push, of course. But yeah, Saquon was great. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown definitely played better than previous week 1. So I saw some improvements offensively from the Eagles, certainly at times in this game. And then we're going to get into our game predictions. I'll move out of the way here so you can see. That should be good. But last week I went 14-2 after going 9-7 week 1. So last week was a lot better than week 1 for me. So this week we got the Bills over Dolphins, shouldn't be too hard. Packers Browns shouldn't be too hard. Eagles Rams, I think it's going to be a fun defensive battle. I'm taking the Eagles though. Bucks Jets. I mean, if Tyrod Taylor somehow wins this game, I will be very surprised. Falcons Panthers. Bryce Young does not look very good right now. I'm taking the Falcons. Colts Titans. Colts look unstoppable, to be honest. Commanders Raiders. Even with Marcus Mariota playing, potentially I'm going to take the Commanders. Vikings Bengals is Carson Wentz versus Jake Browning. That should be interesting. I think Carson Wentz is better, so I'm taking the Vikings. Steelers Patriots. I think it's going to be fun. I think Aaron Rodgers wins this game though. Texans Jags. Texans are actually the underdog, but I'm going to take them here in this game. Seahawks Saints should be pretty easy there. That's my lock of the week. Broncos Chargers is my upset of the week. Sorry about that. Broncos Chargers, my upset of the week. The Chargers have started off 2-0 in 2 divisional games. They got a 3rd divisional game in week 3. If they could win this game, they would put an absolute stranglehold on the division, but I think the Chargers are going to charger and they're going to lose this game. Cowboys Bears. Bears don't look very good. I'm taking Cowboys. Cardinals Niners is also, Cardinals are an underdog, which I don't understand. I don't think Mac Jones is going to have 2 really good games in a row. Right? I'm taking the Cardinals here. Chiefs Giants shouldn't be too hard. Just relatively speaking, the Giants aren't very good. Chiefs should be pretty good, but we haven't really seen the Chiefs be very good this week, and we've seen 2 very, very different Giants teams in week 1 and week 2. Now I'll take the Ravens over the Lions. It should be fun. It's definitely going to be a very competitive Monday Night Football game, but I'm taking Lamar Jackson here. That's going to be it for the video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check back next week for an updated Power Rankings list, and goodbye.